Cooking with Dad. Today's dish is lasagna a la Ron. Okay, so what do? I usually start by heating up the water first because it takes a long time. So I've got this great pasta cooker here, so we'll fill this up. Start with cold water, put some salt in it. Quite a bit. It should be the sort of taste like salt water from the ocean. That's why I use sea salt. Okay, now I always do a combination of garlic and onions. Fresh garlic's always better, so I've got some garlic here. I use about 5 or 6 cloves of garlic if it's the small one. Oops, water's cold. Put it on the stove. Okay, those are big, so I'll use 2 there. Put the garlic in after you've started the onions because the garlic doesn't take as long and it can burn sooner. So we've got a little bit. Okay. Frying pan. Put a little bit of olive oil in to start the onions. Not much, just a bit touch, get it going. Take our onions. This peach is going bad here.
That has nothing to do with lasagna. Ignore that last remark, Pat.
I like to use white onion. I've got about half a white onion that I'm going to chop up. You can chop it as fine or as thick as you like. I actually prefer it a little on the coarser side. But I know certain people, like your grandfather, likes it much smaller. But so depending on the audience, you can chop it thin or thick. Just don't chop your fingers. That's where a nice knife comes in handy. Throw them in there. Sweat them for a while. Turn the fan on so the smoke detector doesn't blow. And we can start our garlic while that's happening. Squeeze it while it pops, and it comes right out of the skin. There we go. Garlic. Here we go. That up. The garlic should be chopped thinner because nobody wants a big chunk of garlic in their food. Okay, then this stuff makes my hands smell, so it's important to wash your hands right away. If you rub it on aluminum, that takes some of the stink out. A little soap. That's beauty. Okay. Onions going. I throw a little butter in there usually too. Does cook faster with the lid on. Okay, now I'm gonna get my spices out. I use oregano. I use basil, but I think I have some frozen fresh basil, which is better. Yes, I do, so I'll use that. Again, depending on who's going to eat it, I may throw a little Tabasco and stuff in it. Once I fry up the meat, I put some Worcestershire sauce. And I also use seasoned salt usually. Brown sugar, I put a little in to caramelize the onions, and some balsamic vinegar later in the sauce. Okay, in the meantime, I have one 800 milliliter can of crushed tomatoes and one 800 milliliter can of diced tomatoes. So those I will use while the onions are cooking. Maybe I'll just open them up. Now I like to use this metal roasting pan for my lasagna. I find metal works better than glass for some reason. I don't know why. So I'll get that out. Cheese. Now I always use some cheddar and mozzarella. So, and some Parmesan. That's it. I know some people like to use other things, but now I might consider, I don't have any today. I was going to say I might consider using some pepperoni or stuff like that in there, but I don't have any, so not today. One of the toughest jobs here is cutting the cheese. Not like that. I'm good at that, but sweating these onions are starting to become sort of translucent. I use a whole one of these 500 gram or 460 gram cheeses in my lasagna. That's a lot. Most people probably don't use that much, but my family likes a lot of cheese. Turn this down to medium. Throw the garlic in. That up a bit for a second or two. Okay, now I put a little pinch of brown sugar in with the onions. Not much, you know, just a little, maybe a half a tablespoon. Let's crunch it up. And that will caramelize the onions really nice. Push the onions over to the side, make a spot in the middle for the hamburger. I got about 500 grams here, a pound of lean. Don't use extra lean. Extra lean is no good. I'll break it up into pieces. I like to break it up pretty fine so that it's not, you know, chunks of it, so that it's, when the meat sauce is done, it's all over. Simmer that over medium. Go back to slicing cheese. See, that water takes a long time to boil. It's still not boiled. You get down to the last bit of the cheese, I usually cut it in half and then it becomes easier to pull. Can opener. Open up the cans. Now at this point, if you have a lot of grease, you could drain it off. This doesn't look too bad. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, now then I use some Worcestershire sauce. And just liberally squirt that in. Fry up the meat in that. And some Laurie's seasoning salt. Let that fry up in there. A little taste. Good. Okay. Turn it down to low and put the tomatoes in. Crushed and diced. Now, depending on how watery it is, you might want some tomato paste, but I find you don't need it. All right, just stir all this up. If you have fresh tomatoes, you could put those in. Sun-dried tomatoes are nice sometimes, depending on, again, who it is. I know some people don't like them. I'm going to put 3 cubes of basil in. Make it 4. Okay. And about 2 teaspoons of oregano. I don't measure, I just shake. Stir that all up. Water's getting close. Okay, now I put in about a teaspoon, no, maybe 2 teaspoons of balsamic vinegar, which was best before 2011, but who cares? It's almost gone. Stir all this up. That. Good. Now we'll just let that simmer while we finish cooking the noodles. Now I know from experience that this takes 3 levels, there are 3 noodles per level, and I usually do 4 levels, so I need 12 noodles. And I cook 1 extra just in case. So where are my noodles? Here's my noodles. Boiling hard is best. We got 2. 5. All right, now these noodles take about 10 minutes, so you need to time it. And you want to get them so that they're soft, but not too soft, because they'll cook more in the oven. So you want them, 8 to 10 minutes. And don't put the lid back on or it'll boil over. Okay? Okay, so now the noodles are done. Turn them off. And
talked about a hanging
the pot's hot, so I'm going to protect myself. The thing is, I like to take this. You can drain it on my pot. If you don't have this, you can use a colander. And then I'll put it in the sink and run cold water on them, so that I can handle them and they'll stop cooking, so that they won't get any more. Because I don't want them to be mushy when we start eating. So just put cold water on them, and that will stop the cooking. You want to mess it about around a bit so that they don't stick together. Perfect. Okay. Let them drain for a minute. And get your pan. And I'm going to put 3 noodles in the bottom. I try to cover the edges so that they overlap a little bit. Sometimes I have a little piece there. Okay. Then sauce.
Go ahead, Sam.
Put lots of sauce on that first layer.
Stephen Wright had a hernia operation before spring training.
Spread that
He was on the
okay,
DL
man.
until 5th of June. So I guess he get his pitching together in extended spring training.
Just run the mots.
There's a slow
I basically put enough mots in so that the bottom level is totally covered.
But the Blue Jays breaking out on top.
Then I put 4 slices or 5 slices of cheddar, short slices. And then I grate some parm in there.
Greg Johnson trusts his F-150 with his wife, when leading his team into the holidays.
You probably can't have too much cheese. That's your first level. And then we do the next level. Continuing to build. Now this next level, you want to make sure that the noodles here at this level are right to the edge. But you just want to cover it. Try to get to the edges. Looks beautiful. Cheese. I probably would do
Bradley Jr. drove a ball
4
to the
levels.
racetrack in
Noodles again. Usually start in the middle and then put the ones along the edges. If you have broken pieces, this is the level you want to use them on. That way you save the really nice ones for the top level. At this point I'm checking to make sure that I'm going to have enough cheese for that top level, because you want that level to be totally covered. So if you think you're going to run short, this is the level where you can use a little less. Now I'm looking good. Put a little cheddar. And some parm. Then the last level. Last level of noodles. So we're going to put those on, and this is the level that will be on top. So you want that to look the best. Right to the edge. You need to, you can just fold the corner of the noodle over and it'll fit around your container. And the last level sauce. So this level you really want to be very healthy with, so that it's all thick on top. Cover up all the noodles. If any of the edges of the noodles are sticking up, push them down so they don't get burnt when they cook. And make sure that your noodles are totally covered with sauce. Beautiful. One more spoonful. Okay. Shake it a bit. Now, your last level. Now with this level in the cheese, I completely cover it. I love that crunchy cheese on top. So I put that on. You always want to leave a little bit of cheese for you to snack on at the end. It's the best part of cooking. Best to cook when you're not too hungry, otherwise you'll eat too much. And some cheddar again, just to give it a little color. And parm. You want the parm all over. Fresh parm is always better, but you could use Kraft or whatever. I know it's an expensive cheese, so that's about it. There's your beautiful lasagna. I would cook that in the oven for 20 minutes at 350 till it's golden brown on top. Serve it with garlic bread and a salad, bottle of nice red wine, and enjoy.